Greetings, Commandants. Selka is a busy person, so I'll be your instructor for this session. I'm Order 5. This is Co-op Classroom. The lecture I have for you is a special one, Overclock Osiris. I'll brief you on his 3 main phases and give you some tips to help you contribute more to your team and be less of a burden. Before even setting foot in Bell, the first thing you should do is go to your option settings and make sure manual lock is turned on. It's important that you check both these boxes. Once your settings are saved, you may proceed to find Osiris under the Event tab. If you're rendezvousing with your own team, you should remember to turn off Quick Match. It's rude to constantly be kicking other commandants. Upon entering the combat stage, immediately check for your manual lock button. Its default position is on the right. This button will allow you to change targets at will, and it will be crucial in dealing with one of the early and constant threats throughout the fight. If you forgot to turn on your manual lock button before entering combat, you can do so right now. Don't worry about Osiris, he won't do anything but stand there until he's lost 1% of his HP. The first and obvious thing to remember is that Osiris never leaves the center of the room. If you stay outside of his melee range, Osiris will continue to fire quick beams in succession, so at all times you should have at least one member in his melee range. Osiris's basic combo is 2 forward swipes, a 360-degree swipe, and finishing with a vertical attack indicated by circles. The 2 forward swipes deal the least amount of damage and should be tanked if possible. The vertical attack is the easiest to avoid and the one you should get used to dodging the most, especially in Phase 2. At 95% HP, Osiris will conjure an Eye of Punishment and the first set of 3 Sand Tornadoes. The Sand Tornadoes are in fixed positions and will rotate at a constant rate. They don't hurt, but they will pull you along in their path. Another set will be created later in the fight further out. A new Eye of Punishment will appear every 40 to 45 seconds. A maximum of 3 can be on the battlefield at once. As the name suggests, if it isn't dealt with quickly, your team may be facing severe penalties. This is what your manual lock button is for. It allows you to change targets to the eye whenever and wherever you are on the battlefield. If you're using a frame like Verity, you'll be able to target the eye and shoot through Osiris, resulting in 0 loss in damage output. Although the attacker role is designed to deal the most damage, everyone on the team can contribute to making sure the eye goes down as quickly as possible. In fact, most frames have just enough range to hit both Osiris and the eye at the same time. Here's a demonstration with Luminance. An Eye of Punishment will project a beam after 15 seconds and begin a fixed rotation. The damage isn't very high, but the true threat is when it combines with Osiris's other attacks, potentially stun-locking you or wasting a dodge that you need for more dangerous attacks. It can also delay a much-needed heal from your support, spelling doom for your entire team. Melee constructs can also find ways to contribute efficiently. The Nami Pulse can hit both targets when standing in between them. Some constructs can even change targets during their signature move. Towards the end of R22 is when Phase 2 begins. A special animation will be played, followed by Osiris slamming the ground shortly after. This attack hits the whole area and deals lots of damage, but the timing for it is relatively easy. In case of lag or input delay, it doesn't hurt to use a signature move to be safe. Nanami Storm has just enough time to protect the entire team with her signature move. The Eye of Judgment that now looms overhead will light up at the end of each of Osiris' combos. It gains 1 light automatically, an additional light for each person hit by Osiris' vertical attack. Upon 6 lights, the Eye of Judgment will begin striking your team with vertical sunbeams. These strikes are independent from Osiris and will leave scorched areas that deal fire damage as long as you stand in them. The strikes will occur every 5 seconds until all of the lights on the Eye of Judgment go out. Then the cycle begins again. You should stay out of the fire when possible, but it's far more important that you dodge the attacks themselves. Remember, the more of Osiris' vertical attacks you can avoid, the longer you can delay the Eye of Judgment. So do your best to dodge all vertical attacks, not just the red ones. These added mechanics aren't too difficult by themselves. However, the Eye of Punishments will continue to spawn, and you should destroy them to relieve stress from your healer. On Nightmare difficulty, you should do everything necessary to destroy them as quickly as possible. If you have to use a signature move to ensure its destruction, then you should do so. If your attacker is lacking damage output, then your teammates can compensate. Tanks can apply their debuff to the Eye, and Liv Lux can use her signature move to grant an extra 20% attack. Co-op is about overcoming adversity as a team. Something that you can do on your own though is take advantage of every part of your kit that gives extra movement. Some examples are Alpha's Blue Orb, which increases movement speed and grants a free dodge when entering core passive. You can also use Watanabe Astral's Blue Orb to teleport to avoid attacks. Lotus Frame's Red Orb drives her forward, as does basic attacks like Nanami's. Bianca Verity can be very frustrating for most teams, since nearly everything she does moves her. However, these movements can be necessary since she has less dodge than melee constructs. Just try to keep a calm mind, and make as many of these movements with intent as you can. The third and final phase begins shortly after reaching bar 6. This is the laggiest part of the fight that will most likely overheat some devices, so the attacker should try to give some prep time to transition to this phase if possible. Osiris will conjure 3 Eyes of Punishment in a fixed triangular position. Any eyes from the previous phase will be replaced, and the Eye of Judgment will release all of its remaining attacks without the 5-second delays. This phase essentially becomes a DPS race. From this point forward, Osiris will no longer attack you directly. The Eye of Judgment will regain 1 light every 3 seconds, and once again start a barrage at 6, without any delays between its attacks. Meanwhile, the Eyes of Punishment can respawn almost immediately after you destroy them. Even if you can get them to stop for a while, it's a good idea just to leave them alone. Once they start up again, they may not be in a triangular formation anymore, which can disrupt players who have practiced dodging them in a triangle. team should split up to avoid overlapping the sunbeams. Those who leave the center should go to the very edge to avoid the sand tornadoes. If an ally falls, don't panic or rush to their rescue. Wait until after the barrage if possible. The absolute worst thing you can do in this final phase is die in the path of the sand tornadoes. It will be nearly impossible to revive you without having 2 people. If your team is having difficulties or facing unbearable lag, then I recommend bringing an Inami Storm to counter this phase. In order to make her signature move more frequent, I suggest 4 Hana 2 Kari. Her signature weapon with its second resonance will also make the run more stable. We now arrive at the end of the lesson. Like Rosetta, your time limit is 8 minutes and 20 seconds regardless of which difficulty. However, Osiris is somewhat flexible compared to other Overclock co-op battles since he sits still. I hope today's class will help commandants who are still fighting Osiris. Good luck. There's still some time left before the event ends. And for those who are already victorious, here's a preview of the upcoming Gabriel battle.
雷電の風であなたたちを裁きます。